And if you don't know, now you know.
You got a good one now, even though they're trying to impeach the son of a bitch. Can you believe that? Anybody would like to come with me to the Oval Office, we'll take pictures in the Oval. It's a special place. There's no place like the Oval. They come from all over the world. They have their own big offices and everything. They go into the Oval and they say there's no place like this. So, Coach, if you'd like, we can take whoever wants to come to the Oval Office. We'll take pictures behind the Resolute desk. It's been there a long time, a lot of presidents, some good, some not so good. But you got a good one now, even though they're trying to impeach the son of a. Can you believe that? You believe that? Got the greatest economy we've ever had, Joe. We got the greatest military. We rebuilt it. We took out those terrorists like your football team would have taken out those terrorists, right? But we're doing good. So we're going to go to the Oval Office with some of the players and all of the players, I guess. And again, I want to just congratulate the team. I want to congratulate your great representatives, all of you. You've been fantastic all season long before they went on this big streak. And it's an honor to have everybody at the White House. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. He's going to be so rich. Looks sort of like a young Tom Brady. Does that make sense to you? That's young. We call him young Tom Brady.
I think you called me a liar on national TV.
Let's not do it right now. You want to have that discussion, we'll have that discussion. You called. Well, as a matter of fact, I didn't say it. And I don't want to waste a whole lot of time on this because this is what Donald Trump and maybe some of the media want. Anybody knows me, knows that it's incomprehensible that I would think that a woman could not be president of the United States. Go to YouTube today. There's a video of me 30 years ago talking about how a woman could become president of the United States. In 2015, I deferred, in fact, to Senator Warren. There was a movement to draft Senator Warren to run for president. And you know what? I stayed back. Senator Warren decided not to run, and I did run afterwards. Hillary Clinton won the popular vote by 3 million votes. How could anybody in a million years not believe that a woman could become president of the United States? And let me be very clear. If any of the women on this stage or any of the men on this stage win the nomination, I hope that's not the case. I hope it's me. But if they do, I will do everything in my power to make sure that they are elected in order to defeat the most dangerous president in the history of our country.
So Senator Sanders, I do want to be clear here. You're saying that you never told Senator Warren that a woman could not win the election.
That is correct.
Senator Warren, what did you think when Senator Sanders told you a woman could not win the election?
I disagreed. Bernie is my friend, and I am not here to try to fight with Bernie. But look, this question about whether or not a woman can be president has been raised, and it's time for us to attack it head on. And I think the best way to talk about who can win is by looking at people's winning record. So, can a woman beat Donald Trump? Look at the men on this stage. Collectively, they have lost 10 elections. The only people on this stage who have won every single election that they've been in are the women, Amy and me.
So true.
And the only person on this stage who has beaten an incumbent Republican any time in the past 30 years is me.
I think you called me a liar on national TV.
What?
I think you called me a liar on national TV.
Let's not do it right now. You want to have that discussion, we'll have that
Anytime.
discussion. You called me. You told me. All right, let's not do it now.
I don't want to get in the middle, but I just want to say hi, Bernie.
Yeah, good.
Let's treat this.
Okay.
While these lawyers for the president are here before you today saying the House should have gone to court, they are in court saying the House may not go to court to enforce its subpoenas. I kid you not. Mr. Philbin says that the House is not ready to present its case. Of course, that's not something you heard from any of the managers. We are ready. The House calls John Bolton. The House calls John Bolton. The House calls Mick Mulvaney. Let's get this trial started, shall we? We are ready to present our case. We are ready to call our witnesses. The question is, will you let us? Now, Mr. Philbin says, well, if I showed up in court and said I wasn't ready, the judge would throw me out of the court. Of course, we're not saying we're not ready. But you know what would happen if Mr. Philbin went into a court and the judge said, I've made a deal with the defendant. I'm not going to let the prosecutor call any witnesses. I'm not going to let the prosecutor present any documents. You know who'd get thrown out of the court? The judge. The judge would be taken out in handcuffs. Now, they make the further argument that the House should only be able to impeach after they exhaust all legal remedies, as if the Constitution says the House shall have the sole power of impeachment, asterisk, but only after it goes to court, in the district court, then the Court of Appeals, and then en banc, and then the Supreme Court, and it's remanded, and they go back up the chain, and it takes years. Why didn't the founders require the exhaustion of legal remedies? Because they didn't want to put the impeachment process in the courts. And you know what's interesting is that while these lawyers for the president are here before you today saying the House should have gone to court, they are in court saying the House may not go to court to enforce its subpoenas. I kid you not. Other lawyers, maybe not the ones at this table, but other lawyers for the president are in court saying the exact opposite of what they're telling you today. They're saying you cannot enforce congressional subpoenas. That's non-judiciable. You can't do it. Now, they also made the argument that you'll hear more later on from apparently Professor Dershowitz that, well, abuse of power is not an impeachable offense. It's interesting that they had to go outside the realm of constitutional lawyers and scholars to a criminal defense lawyer to make that argument because no reputable constitutional law expert would do that. Now, they say, oh, the president is very transparent. He may have refused every subpoena, every document request, but he released 2 documents. The document on the July 25th call and the document on the April 21st call. Well, let's face it. He was forced to release the record of the July 25th call when he got caught. When a whistleblower filed a complaint, when we opened an investigation, he was forced because he got caught. You don't get credit for transparency when you get caught. And what's more, what's revealed in that, of course, is damning. Mr. Cipollone made the representation that Republicans were not even allowed in the depositions conducted in the House. Now, I'm not going to suggest to you that Mr. Cipollone would deliberately make a false statement. I will leave it to Mr. Cipollone to make those allegations against others. But I will tell you this, he's mistaken. He's mistaken. Every Republican on the 3 investigative committees was allowed to participate in the depositions, and more than that, they got the same time we did. They make the argument the president was not allowed in the Judiciary Committee, chaired by my colleague, Chairman Nadler, to be present, to present evidence, to have his counsel present. That is also just plain wrong. Just plain wrong. Not going to suggest you they're being deliberately misleading here, but it is just plain wrong. You've also heard my friends at the other table make attacks on me and Chairman Adler. You'll hear more of that. I'm not going to do them the dignity of responding to them, but I will say this. They make a very important point, although it's not the point I think they're trying to make. When you hear them attack the House managers, what you're really hearing is, we don't want to talk about the president's guilt. We don't want to talk about the McConnell resolution and how patently unfair it is. We don't want to talk about how to pardon the expression, ass backwards it is to have a trial and then ask for witnesses. And so we'll attack the House managers because maybe we can distract you for a moment from what's before you. Maybe if we attack the House managers, you'll be thinking about them instead of thinking about the guilt of the president. So you'll hear more of that, and every time you do, every time you hear them attacking the House managers, I want you to ask yourselves, away from what issue are they trying to distract me? What was the issue that came up just before this? What are they trying to deflect my attention from? Why don't they have a better argument to make on the merits?
This is some real-life Black Mirror stuff. We've heard a lot about the risk of harm to everyday people posed by facial recognition, but I think it's important for people to really understand how widespread this is. Ms. Whitaker, you made a very important point just now that this is a potential tool of authoritarian regimes, correct?
Absolutely.
Can you remind us of some of the most common ways that companies collect our facial recognition data?
Absolutely. They scrape it from sites like Flickr. Some use Wikipedia. They collect it through massive networked market reach. So Facebook is a great example of that.
So if you've ever posted a photo of yourself to Facebook, that could be used in a facial recognition database?
Absolutely, by Facebook and potentially others.
Could using a Snapchat or Instagram filter help hone an algorithm for facial recognition?
Absolutely.
Can surveillance camera footage that you don't even know is being taken of you be used for facial recognition?
Yes, and cameras are being designed for that purpose now.
And so currently cameras are being designed. People think, I'm gonna put on a cute filter and have puppy dog ears and not realize that that data is being collected by a corporation or the state, depending on what country you're in order to track your, to surveil you potentially for the rest of your life. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do you think average consumers are aware of how companies are collecting or storing their facial recognition data?
I do not.
In a previous hearing, we were talking about how facial recognition oftentimes have the highest error rates for Black and brown Americans, and the worst implications of this is that a computer algorithm will tell a Black person that they have likely committed a crime when they are innocent. So let's say if you walk into a technology store, or as this technology spreads, you just walk into a store in the mall, and because the error rates for facial recognition are higher for Black and brown folks, you get misidentified as a criminal. You walk out, and let's say an officer stops you and says someone has accused you of a crime, or we think that you've been accused of a crime. You have no idea that facial recognition may have been responsible for you being mistakenly accused of a crime. Is that correct?
That's correct, and we have evidence that it's often not disclosed.
And so that evidence is often not disclosed, which also compounds on our broken criminal justice system, where people very often don't get entitled to the evidence against them when they're accused of a crime. Is that correct?
Yes, the Willie Lynch case in Florida is case in point.
So what we're seeing here is that these technologies are almost automating injustices, both in our criminal justice system, but also automating biases that compound on the lack of diversity in Silicon Valley as well.
Absolutely. These companies do not reflect the general population, and the choices they make and the business decisions they make are in the interest of a small few.
So, Madam Chairwoman, I'd say this is some real-life Black Mirror stuff that we're seeing here. And I think it's really important that everyone really understand what's happening, because this is, as you pointed out, Ms. Whitaker, this is happening secretly as well, correct?
Yes.
All right, thank you, and that's my time.
And if you don't know, now you know.
And if you don't know, now you know. What are we dealing with here? Why are we here?
Let me see if I can just posit an answer to that question. We are here, sir, because President Trump pressured a foreign government to target an American citizen for political and personal gain. We are here, sir, because President Trump solicited foreign interference in the 2020 election and corrupted our democracy. We are here, sir, because President Trump withheld $391 million in military aid from a vulnerable Ukraine without justification in a manner that has been deemed unlawful. We are here, sir, because President Donald Trump elevated his personal political interests and subordinated the national security interests of the United States of America. We are here, sir, because President Trump corruptly abused his power and then he tried to cover it up. And we are here, sir, to follow the facts, apply the law, be guided by the Constitution, and present the truth to the American people. That is why we are here, Mr. Sekulow. And if you don't know, now you know. I yield to my distinguished colleague.